Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our second and last day of the Continuing Master Student Class 2021 presentation of their culminating experience. It's such a pleasure to start the day with our student Aretha Tillotson and her presentation. This is our school. I'm going to read a little bit about Aretha. Aretha Tillotson is an Edmonton-based who was a study at the Grand McGill University and the University of Toronto. In Toronto, she studied with Dave Young and Jim Vivian and with David Bowie Black Star bassist Tim LaFebre. She has recently participated in Ralph Alessi's Sim Clinic in Brooklyn, and she's now studying at the master program at Berklee Global Jazz Institute. Some of the most notable musicians she has had the pleasure to play with include Mike Merle, Charles Austin, and Norma Winston. Aretha also works as a musical theater musician, and she has performed at the Citadel Theater at Stone and Six and Theater at Calgary, The Louder We Get. Aretha, we are very, very happy and proud to have you with us, and please take it away.
Okay, all right.
Oh, wait, sorry, but Aretha, I forgot to also welcome your advisors and your panelists. As advisor, Patricia Perez and Chase Mori, and the panelist, Linda Oates. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Okay, so hi everyone and welcome. My name is Aretha Tillotson. I'm a bassist here at the Berklee Global Jazz Institute. So before we get started, I just want to say, I just want to do a quick land acknowledgement. So the land on which we gather is a traditional meeting place of the Massachusetts and Nipmuc people here in Boston. People have been making music here for thousands of years, and I'm honored to continue that tradition. So my project is called This is Art School. It's an analysis of Canadian post-secondary institutions and the experiences of intersectional women. So This is Art School is a movement that started in 2019 with the hashtag This is Art School. It was actually started by trombonist Modibo Keita. Him and I actually had quite a few conversations. Modibo is a black man that went to the University of Toronto with me. So this all started with him posting experiences he had to do with racism within Canadian institutions, and this quickly snowballed as more people, more oppressed groups started to share their stories with the hashtag This is Art School. It gained a lot of traction across Canada. It was picked up by several news affiliates, so I have a link listed here as well about that. So I have a little bit of personal experience with this as well. I've went to 2 Canadian arts institutions for jazz performance. Within my first diploma, I was the only female bassist and the only minority in the diploma program in both years. As well, at the University of Toronto, I actually was playing in the big band, and while I was introduced on the road one day, the conductor of this big band was acknowledged that he had been previously critiqued before, that he had no women in the band. So while he was introducing the band, he said, "Look, now I have one," and introduced me. So it's definitely something I've dealt with myself. Just to provide a little bit of data before we jump into this, there's 7 standalone jazz majors at institutions in Canada, and so there are 770 faculty positions available. 16 are occupied by women, and 3 are full-time tenured positions within that. And so we definitely have a little bit of a small piece of the pie, as you can see. As well, female students account for 11% as opposed to male students, 89%. Another statistic that I haven't included here is just that only 22% of students identify as people of color within the student body as well. So my goal within this is to demonstrate the experience of different female artists across different disciplines and their experiences within Canadian art institutions. So the way that I do that is that I conduct interviews with the subject of this presentation, discussing their time in school, and I write a musical portrait of these women based on the interview. So the music involves these women's work in some way, whether it's playing or visual art, and each piece uses elements of their narrative to tell their story. So this is a little bit of a table of contents here. So the first subject that we talk about is female representation, then the physical and emotional stress of being in an institutional environment, finally oppression manifested in different ways in gendered instruments, and finally the continuation of colonial and racial oppression. So let's jump right in here. My first subject is Audrey Ochoa. So Audrey is a freelance trombonist in Edmonton, Alberta. Her last record, Frankenhorn, was reviewed in Downbeat magazine, and she's currently touring with the Hadestown Broadway tour. So in this interview, we talk about female representation within institutions.
And institutions realize is it's just like your faculty and your studios, and that which you're promoting is telling people who don't look like you that we're not welcome there. And it's very easy to say, well, you are welcome. It's like, yeah, except I've been in male dominated places and it sucks and they were dangerous. So sorry, that's not good enough. But if I see that you demonstrably are able to take advice or critique or direction from a woman, I'm more likely to be like, oh, I probably won't get harassed there. I mean, there's no guarantee, but your institutions have to reflect who you're trying to attract. So inclusion isn't enough. It's got to be women in authority excelling with excellence, which is everywhere.
So after this interview, I wrote this piece called 8th Street. So in the interview, Audrey expressed her influences and their cultural significance. So we talked about Willie Colon, the trombonist, as well as Cowchow, the bassist. So I wrote this tune kind of based on a Willie Colon head in terms of the changes, in terms of the style. And then I played the bass in a little bit more of a percussive way, so we'll hear a little bit of that. The main thing was that I wanted the interaction between the two of us to be sometimes me supporting Audrey and that I play a comping line, but other times I'm playing in unison, other times I'm playing harmony. And so really it's like we're just supporting each other through this. I also wanted it to be duo in that quite often we're the only females hired within groups together. So I really wanted to emphasize it's only us providing the harmony, it's only us providing the rhythm. My next interview subject is Alexa Belgrave. So Alexa is an in-demand freelance pianist and keyboardist living in Toronto, Ontario. She's currently employed as an accompanist for Sheridan College. So here we talk about mental health and what can be done, what environment we can set up to improve mental health as instructors.
In this class, there's that feeling of trust, which I think is really important. And I can see it in the classes. Like after the first class, I can just see the reactions of the students. They're just more open. They're more willing to try and try things out, and it might not work, but it's okay if it doesn't work out, because it's just like, okay, it didn't work, let's try something else. But also the fact that I can say that because there's 2 Black female professors teaching them, and so that's in itself is kind of like, what? I only had like 3 teachers that were Black in my life, and it's like, and none of them were at U of T.
So the piece I wrote concerning this is called Flair. So the bass and drum, as well as the piano in and out, are the institutionalized order contrasting mounting panic. And then the alto and tenor saxophone are the ones showing the kind of panic within this. And so the song peaks and decays until finally we have just a huge panic attack. Yeah, I'll let the song speak for itself. My next 2 interview subjects are Jacqueline Tay and Laura Swanky. So Jacqueline Tay is a freelance vocalist currently teaching voice and ensembles at the University of Toronto. And Laura Swanky is a freelance vocalist currently teaching voice at the University of Toronto and Humber College. So this is a conversation I had with Laura about treatment and different standards for gendered instruments such as voice.
You know, being othered, I think, was a big part of being a vocalist, probably being a woman as well. Because of some of the assumptions I already said, but as a vocalist, the program was watered down. We didn't have an improv course in the first year. I remember like fighting to try to take more improvising. And
so I was really surprised to hear this from Laura. I had no idea just the difference in the vocal department. And so this piece features a role reversal. So I have 4 voices playing a really hard part. The harmony is quite complex, and they're really providing the accompaniment for myself and for the drum kit. They provide the accompaniment for the bass solo. So just showing what they're capable of, and also just trading their roles. So my last interviewee today is Kiona Callahoo-Lightfoot. So Kiona is a visual artist from the Michelle First Nation in Alberta, Canada. She specializes in painting and also is a museum curator for Indigenous exhibits. So here, Kiona talks about the removal of a cultural item during a convocation at her institution. It was a Métis cultural item, so an Indigenous cultural item.
Someone who is working the convocation and just like checking names and stuff like that approached me and said that I would need to like take my sash off because it was violating the MacEwan dress code. And I explained to this person that it was cultural and was really flustered because they were about to call my name. And then they just kept telling me that they would have to prevent me from walking across the stage if I didn't give them the sash. So again, I just didn't know what to say. So I just again said it was cultural and that I wouldn't be removing it. And then in a panic, this person reached like onto my body and like removed the sash like without my consent or without me like physically helping them or like giving any sort of signal that that would be okay.
So the piece I wrote concerning this is called Verses. So as we can see here to the right, this is what Kiona sketched. I was really drawn to the phrase, I used to hold my tongue, the fact that it's one syllable each. The light pink background, it's like, it looks like it should be a happy piece, but there's something wrong, there's something not quite right. And so I wrote this piece, I've divided up a 12-tone row, 6 notes in the bass and the next 6 notes in the piano line, as well as I wrote a happy melody, but with the clashing claves of the 7, as well as a C major over E flat major harmony, so it feels like something is wrong. And let's give it a play. So I just like to read a little bit of finishing arguments. This is a snapshot into the life of 6 different women, aged 20 to 37, in different mediums in art school. These stories provide a way for the audience to experience this environment, but also to guide us in moving forward. As each piece was played, it featured more contributors, symbolizing the collective movement required for change. The question each woman contributed to solving is, how do we improve our current situation and progress forward? For me, the answer comes with the extraordinary women I've interviewed. They're all working professionals creating art at the highest level and teaching their craft. With improvements to conditions, the small sample size can grow exponentially. So I'd just like to thank BJGI Artistic Director Danilo Perez, Managing Director Marco Pinataro, Committee Member Linda Mejano, my private instructors Linda Mejano, John Patitucci, and Susan Hagen, my compositional advisors Chris Davis, Bruno Robert, and Chase Morin, my seat advisor Patricia Perez, as well as for some additional composing help, Chase Morin, my interviewees Audrey Ochoa, Alexa Belgrave, Jacqueline Tay, Laura Swanky, Kiona Callahoo Lightfoot, and my musicians Chris Davis, Alan Chase, Francesca Remigi, Nish Manjanev, Alex Samaras, Audrey Ochoa, Jacqueline Tay, and Laura Swanky. Thank you, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Fantastic, Aretha. Congratulations on this wonderful presentation. And then we start now the second part of the presentation with the comments and questions from the panelists. And I would like to start with your panelist, Linda O, which we welcome here today.
Hi everyone. Aretha, fantastic job. Really well laid out, and the music was at such a very high level, and I have a few questions. So this presentation is centered mainly around Canadian institutions, and the fact that you're presenting this at a US institution, I think, is really beautiful. That we're talking about global initiatives, the whole global program. How do you see your work affecting change and instigating change on a global level?
It's a great question. Thank you. I do think, I've said this to Marco, it was a little bit of a shock to come to Berklee. And I mean, a part of it was because it's just so much more diverse within the United States. And so I do think, at least talking about the United States, it is a little more far ahead in that there are female instructors and people of color at a much higher ratio within the institution. And, much like what talked about in the first interview, it breeds kind of this rolling stone of, women feel like it's safe to come to an institution where there are female instructors and also many other women within the program. And so I think that it's definitely much further along within this institution and within, Berklee as a whole. However, I mean, I do think it is an issue across, the world, and it can always be improved upon. So in terms of a global initiative, I mean, I don't think these stories are unique to Canada, like these experiences. And so it's something, I think this call to action especially is something that we can constantly improve upon in terms of having more representation, revamping, gendered instruments, like voice, for example, revamping curriculums to be equal with those of instrumentalists.
Yeah, great. I can definitely see some parallels. Coming from Australia and traveling and teaching in various different countries, and I know there are many people on this call who are from different countries, and I'm sure you can see lots of parallels and places where a lot of this information would be very much needed. So I hope that you can think on a larger scale level of how this research within Canadian institutions really does apply to a lot of other places beyond Canada. I just had a question about the first piece. I'm really curious. I'd like to learn what was the cultural significance of the influence of Cachao and Willie Colon on the Filipino community. That's something I didn't really know about.
Whew. I mean, I guess that's a good question. I'll have to dive more into it. I know that Audrey just mentioned that growing up, it was something constantly playing throughout her house, and something that affected like her instrument choice of trombone. But I think, I know she's mentioned it's something that I didn't know much about, that there was a Spanish occupation in the Philippines, and so that culture is also within those influences of Cao Chow and Willie Colon.
Beautiful, nice. Yeah, I thought everything was really well done, and the music, man, I mean, I love the tune Flair, and I'd buy the album, The one thing I'd say with the first song in particular is it sounded great. It's such a high level. It's interesting sometimes when composing, keeping in mind writing to sort of pay tribute or to include influences. And I would love to hear a bit more of you in that piece, because sometimes
In
I think
Flair? Sorry, Linda?
no, sorry, the first piece that we
Okay, yeah.
yeah, because I think sometimes when thinking about composing in a vein where you're referencing something that inspires you, sometimes music can be a bit more idiosyncratic than maybe what you may want it to be. And I just wanted to hear a bit more of you in that composition. Like, you can still have those inspiring elements, but just what is there that's really you in that, but
Yeah.
in saying that, everything was really high level. Yeah, so that's all I have to say. Well done, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. And maybe now Patricia Perez as advisor, could ask questions or comments.
Aretha, I'm so happy to see you and hear you. Sorry, there's a little bit of noise here. I'm not in my office. Joyful time working with you. I think I've seen a transformation from the first time that we met and the first time that we talked and the first time that I heard your music. I think you are a different person. You have grown so much. I am so inspired by you. And I want to tell you that I have grown with you too. I love your project. I love your music. You have to, keep doing what you're doing. I think it's very important. We have talked already about the possibilities for the future, including feminist theory, including, getting deep into feminist theory and bringing that to the music to answer the question of what does jazz without patriarchy sounds like. So I want to congratulate you because it's been a wonderful journey of music and of growth. And I'm so happy that you are now in a position of power to change the curriculum, to bring women, and to do what you need to do as an activist in the school that you have been hired. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Actually, this is a good segue for my question, because I was thinking about you. I know you're very involved, even this year, as you're finishing your master, you got a very nice position in Canada and been working with a lot of students. So as I say, what Patricia said, what kind of initiative you're planning to do in relation to you as a teacher, not as a student, regarding the theme you're presenting?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty big shift, or now kind of shifting roles. So yeah, I am going to be even coming up in January teaching a ensemble that's based around women in jazz and playing the music of female composers. So it's something I'm jumping into already to have a lot of material. As well, I am going to be presenting this project at the University of New Brunswick coming into this summer, and so I think that this project itself can grow. I mean, there are so many voices add to this, as well as, I mean, even like Linda said, starting to add global voices, and uncovering, alternate issues that I couldn't even think of. I mean, that, I left the questions so open in the interviews because there was no way I could have known the treatment of gendered instruments like voice. I just didn't experience it. So, these conversations kind of progress naturally. But yeah, I mean, it's I think within this project, I can consistently add more and more. But yeah, within the institution as well, pushing for more representation, like we discussed within this project, but also hopefully being a pillar to help the students in a way that I didn't have when I was at these institutions as well. Like hopefully just being a beacon of support.
I was wondering actually, in relation of what you just said, like as a young faculty, do you feel in Canada, do you start feeling there's a culture shift, compared to when you were a student regarding this theme, or you feel like it's still a lot of work to do?
Yes, I will say, I have 3 female students out of 9 at my institution, and 2 of them are women of color, and I also have 2 male students of color. And I even noticed, I was back in Edmonton a couple weeks ago, and I noticed that these students had other students on their juries to perform repertoire for me as part of an exam, and there was so much more diversity. And even just these students were, talking about hiring people that look like you. The diverse students generally had more diverse players in their band, and so having that option and having allies with you is really important. And so I am seeing a shift. And I think a lot of it even just comes from these calls to action that, even teaching a jazz history course should be done by an African American person, and because it's Black American music. And so I think that just calls to action like these are how we can improve the situation.
Thank you, Aretha. Chase, you were also advising Aretha in this beautiful project.
Aretha, wow. It's really been such a pleasure and honor to work with you, get to know you, and this you'd shared a lot of the music with me. We've been working on that and checking out your ideas, but I hadn't seen the presentation and the interviews and everything, and how you put it together was incredibly compelling, well articulated. And I just want to commend you, like, first of all, on just your presentation skills and your ability to convey this material in a concise but such a clear way, and the way everything was connected is a really like strong message for how you can take music and interviewing real people and connect them at a deep level. You've done that, I think, incredibly strongly, and I'm just hat off to you for that. That's amazing. And I'll say it again. I've already told you this, but I'll just say it again. I think you have such an incredible natural talent for making very specific music that is deeply ingrained with messages and themes and stories and narratives. This is something that I care deeply about myself. We delve into this with my class, and we worked on it together, in advising sessions. But you just have such a beautiful natural gift for it. You briefly introduced these songs and some of the ways the specifics of how you took the material, the interviews, the concepts, and put them in the music. But for me, it's you feel that. You didn't have to explain a single thing. You feel that so strongly in the music, and that's something very special. That's really incredibly powerful, and it's really hard to do, so just I can't wait to see how you do that. And I know that there's so much more depth to how you wrote these pieces, and the intricacies of all the theory behind them, but also the emotions and the arc of how you compose them. So I would love just for you to talk a little bit more about the process of writing the music, and the kind of things you were delving into when you were trying to take these abstract and deep concepts and put them into pitches and timbres, you know.
Thank you so much, Jason, and thank you so much for your help during this process, and of course to Patricia as well. I think that every piece was very unique. When I was working with Audrey, it just I just sat at the piano and I'd listened to a bunch of Willie Colon, and I just kind of felt the melody. And so I felt that one came really fast. When I was working with the vocalist, with the 4 vocalist pieces, I was feeling in a pretty dark place, like the fact that this gendered instrument was so, oppressed, like they're not allowed to take improvising. And so that was me singing the melody and just playing roots on the bass and kind of feeling what's gonna kind of convey this message. And then in terms of the blowing section on the vocal piece, I really wanted to feel like it wasn't resolved, so the progression that I used didn't resolve ever within the blowing section, to just kind of convey that feeling like this is us and we're here and we're strong players, but we're still fighting for this. In terms of verses, my last piece with the Indigenous artist, that one also came really quick. I mean, I was so stunned by the sketch that Kiona wrote. And I had actually just spoken with Chris Davis about working with a 12-tone row, and it was her. She said, so you can kind of always tell when it's a 12-tone row, and you don't have to use it's not like the horn has to play that entire 12-tone thing together. And so it was her. I want to credit Chris for instructing me, you can split this up. And so I had kind of been working on 12-tone stuff, and I thought it would be a good basis for something sounds not quite right, even though it's a happy melody. So hopefully that wasn't too vague, but that's kind of the way I approach these pieces.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. And just kind of going on a thread that Linda started. I really think this you're based on the specificity and sort of the concepts that you care about and this mission that you have, and the way it's making its way into the music, you're finding a really strong musical identity as well. I see that, there's a connection between all of the tracks that there's a lot of diversity in the tracks as well, musically, right? So I'm just really excited to see, I really encourage, and I hope you continue making this beautiful music and finding that attachment to your mission, and it's creating such a specific musical vision as well. And I'm along with Linda. I want to buy that record. I'm so excited for it. So thank you. Really inspiring, Aretha.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chase.
I just want to say that also just the fact that you really incorporated each interview subject and each person within the collaboration. It wasn't like you just had the subject and you're observing from the outside and just sort of writing about that person or something. You actually involved each person in the whole creative process in one way or another. And I think that is a really good example to set for other global students when they're doing these CE projects, that it's not just simply like a subject that you're writing about. It's you actually going in and collaborating, meeting these people and creating a relationship, which I think is really special and really important when doing something like your CE. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chase and Linda. And Maestro Danilo.
Absolutely. I take the motif from Linda. This presentation really is engaging. The way it's presented, I totally agree what that said. There's a uniqueness about the way it was presented that I really resonate with. I love it. I love working with you. What a great energy you brought to the environment. I am going to miss those private lessons, watching you with the hair like this, I got to get that. I got to get that. You have that vibe always. All the best in this new journey that you are embarking. Chapter 2. I just want to give you a couple things. I love the project, and a couple I would say to take with you because of the question. One thing, let me follow up on what Linda's asked. The Philippines, Linda, was a Spanish colony for 300 years, more than 300 years probably. And the national language there was Spanish. So Aretha, you got to defend that point. That was a great question right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because those are the multicultural education that we are embracing here at Global. And it's important. That's a great question. It's like, what is the association with? And why would you be, they speak Spanish, they eat chicharrones, they eat beans, and they dance salsa and all of that. It's very unique. So
Right.
that's very important, all right? The other question that she asked about the bass thing, and I have just an addition to that. When you're playing those tumbaos, I need you to keep practicing. I want to start reminding. I'm sorry to do this in front of, but when you're playing, and this is for all the instrument, you have to sing the other percussion instrument. And you got to sing that and play that bass. And that's going to liberate you to give your own identity how to play this groove. That's it. Those two things. I am incredibly proud of you. And take this opportunity that you have had. Take it wherever you go. Take it with you. A balance between authority and limitation of it, and how to think between teachers and students, how we learn together, basically, in a way that nobody is on top of nobody. We cannot use the class as a space for domination. That's something you have lived at Global. You know, I think you should bring that to wherever you go, where mutually teachers and students are learning from each other. Like I learned from you in this project, and we all did. Thank you very much for this amazing presentation.
Thank you, Danilo. And we actually running out of time. So Aretha, congratulations again. And thanks for being of this amazing year. So many challenges, but you really all did an amazing ending of this experience. So we love you very much. Please stay connected and represent us as an ambassador wherever you go. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Congratulations.